Hello Facebook friends, hello random internet people who might come and watch. What I'm doing here is this is a free service where I'm repairing photos for people, general public, and I'm using my 25 years of experience in this sort of work, amongst other things. I'm mainly involved in the printing industry, but I do a lot of Photoshop repair work and I love doing it, and I thought I might just get on here and do it for free and hopefully share some of my experience and some of my knowledge for other people doing photo repairs or thinking about getting into it. I'll do all kinds of work, so if you've got any kind of printing slash Photoshop slash Adobe Illustrator issues, drop me a question and I'll jump on and I'll give you a solution, hopefully. I'm going to work on this real time. I've done a little bit of prep for it, as you'll see, but I'm going to work on this real time, and if I stuff it up, then I'll stuff it up. It'll all be part of the learning experience for all of us. So let's jump in and see what can be done. Now, this photo was sent in to me for repair with a few others, and it's pretty badly damaged, as you can see, but by a stroke of luck the boy's face is generally pretty good. The photo, it's not a scan, it's been photographed with a phone or something, maybe a camera but a phone most likely, so the resolution's not fantastic, but it is what it is, and I'm going to just do the best I can with it. And what I've done is I've prepared a patch piece for the hair, I've prepared a patch piece for a shirt, which hopefully I can use to do the bulk of the damage at the top and bottom of the pic. So let's dive in. Now the tones in this are pretty good. I might leave the tonal adjustment to the end of the process, but let's do the physical repair work first. Now what I want to do is I want to get rid of all this messy business at the top and at the bottom, because in the end that's just going to potentially show through my repair work. So I'm going to do a pretty rough bit of repair on that. And what I'll do when I start is I'll change the mode to CMYK, partly because I'm a printer and that's printer's primaries, but also because adjustments in CMYK are so much more intuitive. Blue means blue. If you work in RGB, then red means green and vice versa, and it gets a bit confusing and it'll drive you a bit crazy. You won't lose anything by going into CMYK. You'll gain a lot. So first thing I like to do, I should say second, because first thing is switching to CMYK. Second thing is make a backup copy. Just as easy as just drag that layer onto the background, onto the new layer icon, and then I'll just keep that in the background. So now I'm working on this one called background copy. Now what I mentioned is that I made a couple of repair pieces. So what I'm going to do is clean this background so that I can more easily use the repair pieces, and I think I'm inclined to just block it with color. So what I want to do is I want to pick up some background color out of here, so it's very similar to what I'm going to be repairing it to. So I'm just, sorry, I should have shown that. I'm on a PC and I've just done Alt click in the little swatch icon there, so I can use this eyedropper to pick up a sample color, part of this nice dark rich black that I've got in the back here. Maybe I'll go for the darker one. Yeah, I like this over here. So now that foreground color is set to that, and I'm going to pick up my paintbrush, check the settings. I'm on normal, I'm on opacity 100%. Oh, I'm getting a visit from my assistant here. You won't see him, but my cat is wandering up, and hopefully he's not going to step on the keyboard. He goes, thanks Murphy, you're really helpful. Maybe come back a bit later on, buddy. Okay, so I've got my brush and I'm going to paint this color on. So I've got a nice soft edge on it, so where it does touch the good parts of the photo, it's not going to make a hard edge there. And okay, we just paint a bit in here. You can't see him, but Murphy is sitting here. Murphy the cat, he's sitting here watching the cursor move around on the screen. If I know him, he's going to go over there and try and catch it. Anyway, cat's aside. Just move over a bit, buddy, because you're kind of in the way. Okay, back to work. So now this is one of my favorite little tools here, is to go shift and right square bracket, hardens that brush so the edges get sharp. I can show you here. Yeah, sharp brush. And if I go the opposite way, shift and left square bracket, you see the cursor shrink a little bit. Now we've got a soft edge on it, just so you can see what I'm doing. So I'll go to the hardest and then just back it off 2 clicks, just so I've got a bit of an edge. This is very subtle, you won't see that. Okay, now I'll do the same with the red. So what I do is I hit the Alt key, and that is going to give me a nice dirty red from down in here somewhere. And you'll see the little foreground swatch changes. And I've got now a red brush. Murphy being a nuisance. Hang on, I've just got to deal with an until over here. Look, here he is. Say hello to random internet people. Murph, good boy. Now you can go and have a nap on your bed. Let me get on with this job. Good boy, you sit there. Sorry. Well, I said it was going to be whatever happens, happens. So that's it. Murphy happened. I'm going to soften this brush a little bit. Keep painting in the colour. Just cover these damaged bits. That's a bit of damage there. Now enlarge that brush a bit. I like using shortcuts for that because it's much smoother operation. Okay, yeah, he looks a lot happier already. So I'm going to replace this shirt completely. So I'm not worried about trying to keep any detail in it. All I want is the bits that are actually important, which is the bits where it touches his neck. So what I've got here is I've got something I call shirt source. So I've just found a shirt that's approximately the same colour and similar sort of style. It's about the closest one I could find. You know, I often spend longer looking for bits of source than I do for actually working on the image in these sort of jobs. So I had to find this one earlier. I wasn't going to sit here and spend half an hour searching for images. So what I'll do is I'll bring this whole item in, and the resolution of the original photo is not that great, so I don't think it's really going to suffer from a resolution issue. Now what I want to do here is I want to make this semi-transparent so that I can actually see where I'm putting it. So I'm setting the layer to multiply, and this is a good way to sort of get it so it's transparent and you can see what you're doing. It's not permanent change, of course, because that's just a layer setting. And what I'm looking to do is, sorry Murphy, it's getting in the way again. Just looking at the main parts of the shirt, so the V where it meets in the middle and the sort of flattened out collar. It's going to match up here. Now remember, I'm not going to use a lot of this. I'm only going to really use the bottom edge of it and a bit of the shirt texture. You can see where I'm going here. So just tweaking. This bit will just come with practice, so you've got to just get in and have a go with this sort of thing, and it'll come together. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Now, so I've got the part I'm working on and what I'm working with. They're very different in colour at the moment, but I'll address that when we get closer to the final product. So now what I want to do is I want to erase the bits I don't need. And so I'm working on layer 1, which is the shirt. I might just rename that shirt. And I've got the eraser tool. Now my eraser at the moment, what am I going to do? Okay, I'm going to start here. So my eraser has got a pretty sharp edge, you can see it there, but it's not totally sharp because I don't want to create sharp, crisp edges all over the place. That won't look good. So what I'm going to do is, keeping my mind on the important part, which is the subject, is just get rid of the bulk extra bits I don't need, like the original guy's neck and so on. And always have the brush a little bit soft. If you're working with a sharp eraser or brush, you will get sharp edges and they will be obvious. As I've shrunk it down, the edges got a little bit sharp there, but not too bad. I'm going to go a little bit bigger and I'm going to go a little bit softer using keyboard shortcuts. I'll let you find those for yourself, but think of the square bracket. And up here we've already got some reasonable detail from the original pic. So if I just kind of blend this, fake it in a little bit, and next what I'll do is, actually the original had reasonable detail down in here. Now we get a little bit kind of artistic here, and we get away with a bit because we kind of create new detail that never existed in either pic before, if you follow my meaning. So don't be afraid to get a little bit artistic. The bit that's going to be important to us is just this little bit of neck here, and I was thinking a bit of this collar up here, but that's looking okay as it is. I'm going to smooth it all out. So I'm only working pretty roughly at the moment. It'll blend and move as we go. So next to one of my favorite tools, which is Puppet Warp. Puppet Warp. A lot of people have never even heard of this tool, but once you start using it, you'll keep using it because it's the most fun. So what that does is it puts this grid of dots over the original image that allow you to stretch and distort the starting image. So the bits that we're happy with, we click on these and we put pins in them. And what that'll do is that'll pin it so that it doesn't move along this edge. So I'm pretty happy with that edge. And you try and put pins at the extremes of where you want the movement to start. So that'll make sense in a minute. That sounds a bit weird. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click and drag over here. So I put a pin, but I'm actually pulling the image away. And I'm going to pull away and pull away so I can cover this side. You can see over on the left hand side there that things are moving around because this whole thing is very elastic. Murphy wants to help me again. Just stay there, buddy. He's a very curious cat and he's fascinated with the moving dots on the screen. Anyway, okay, so this bit over here I want to sort of blend up into the existing part. So we get a bit of that shirt. There's a bit of shirt texture. There's not much to it, but what there is useful and it's better than the junk that was there before. So having got that in place, then we commit that by hitting the tick, and then we're sort of getting something to work with there. And what I want to do is I'm going to get the eraser and I'm going to take a bit more off the edge of this shirt. So I've just hit E for eraser. I'm doing shift and right bracket to enlarge, shift and right bracket to sharpen it, and then right bracket on its own to enlarge it, and then once again back to the shift and left bracket to soften the edge. You can see the circle shrink a little bit, and I will just let a little bit of that original tone show through. Now if I can just get the two tones to match, I've got something useful. I'd like this this seam on the collar, I'd like that to go a bit longer. So what I might do is just duck back into the puppet warp, and once again I'll just pin the corners of what I don't want to change. It's exactly like pinning a sheet of rubber on a page on a desktop or something, and it's quite good fun. And look at this, now I can just drag this. It does lose resolution, but in contexts like this that's not going to be a big issue. I'm going to have to get a bit creative with this shadow of the collar, but that's alright, I'll work that out as I go along. Okay, it's starting to look like something now. And I'll just click it off and on, just have a look where I'm going. Okay. Right, now let's have a look at the tone of it. So what I'll do is I'll use an adjustment layer, which means that I go down here into this little icon, and we've got hue and saturation, because I'm going to be changing the hue and the saturation, funnily enough. Now I don't want to change every layer below. If I make an adjustment with this now, it's going to change, you know, the whole thing. I can change it through all that gamut like that. I don't want to change everything, so I don't want to change the boy's eye color when I change the shirt patch. So what I do is holding the Alt key, I think it's Option if you're on a Mac, I'm on a PC, you get this little, you hover the, I'll just highlight my cursor for you. So I'm looking between the adjustment layer and the layer I want to adjust. I hover here and hold Alt, and this little icon comes up with that little down arrow. So that now makes this little icon of the bent arrow, and that means that what I do in that adjustment only affects that layer. So now I can just change the shirt patch color instead of the whole thing. So what I'll do is I'll try and get the hue, and hue just means the color, relatively speaking, and saturation means how pure and bright the color is. So it's pretty desaturated. I'm going to desaturate, and then lightness, darkness, it's pretty obvious. So just toning that down. I see it's got a bit of color in it, a little more saturation, a little tweak of the hue. You can do this by the numbers, but it's more fun to do it by using the sliders. Sometimes I just get a bit of a clue from the numbers, but generally the best way to do it is just tweak, tweak, tweak by eye. It's a bit yellowy, then it's a bit bluey. Try and get the tone in the middle. This is being a little bit tricky. You don't feel bad if it takes you a long time, because I've been doing this for years and it still takes me ages to get things just right. I think it's a bit smooth. It needs a little bit of noise in it. It needs to be a little dirtier just to make it sort of look a more natural blend. I don't think I'm going to get the actual colour, to be honest. I'm going to just get as close as I can, and I'll use a bit of noise or something to blend it together later. And I can still soften this edge, blend it in. Okay, so that's in a separate adjustment layer. So I can turn that adjustment off and on, and my original patch layer isn't changed at all. And if I turn this off, the whole thing just comes and goes. Now, there's another way to do this, which is the same but different, is to change the blending mode of this layer. So the way this layer lays over the background layer is, at the moment it's normal. Oops. And I can change it to darken, to multiply, color burn. There's all these modes of how that layer blends with one below it. And the most common one probably that I do work with is multiply. And with multiply, it kind of makes the layer transparent and lets it show through and what's below. And if I do that, is that working? No, this is one of those cases where I'm showing you what doesn't work, because that's the learning as well. I don't think that really works. It loses, the color improves, but it loses too much detail there. So I'm not going to do a multiply there. I think I'm just going to use a little bit of noise. So what that means is that's a filter, and I'll just go up to filter here, noise, add noise, and this literally will add digital noise into the image. I'll just zoom in a bit and you'll see what I mean. With preview, when I click on this little icon, it shows preview and not preview. You can see, depending how clear this transmission here is, you'll see there's a little bit of noise appearing. You can overdo it just so you can see the effect. So there's noise, no noise. I'm using Gaussian noise, not Gaussian as some people say, it's Gaussian. It's named after a person whose name is Gauss. And there's uniform. And uniform is just a bit smoother. Gaussian is a mathematical random scattering, almost makes kind of clouds. Now what you'll notice too is that the effect is much more pronounced in the previews, this mini preview, than it is on the screen. So when I click this, we should see, if I zoom in, we should have some noise. And as you can see, it's much less than what the preview would have us believe it was going to do. But it's still useful. I'm going to add a bit more because it's not quite enough. If I just click filter, add noise again, it'll just repeat the same filter. So I can just keep adding noise again and again if I want. So a little bit of noise makes it look a bit more natural. It's still, there's something kind of wrong about that collar. Oops, I lost my, there you go. Once again, I'm going to show things going wrong. So I forgot that I had lightened that, made that layer slightly transparent. That's why I was getting less noise than I thought. So now I feel a bit stupid, but it's all part of the experience, isn't it? I think we should be trying to have fun with this as well as getting something done. Okay, so I've reduced the transparency. Now what I'm starting to get now is a bit too much noise. Okay, I'm going to back up a bit. I don't want to be one of those people that does these things totally rehearsed and totally predictably, because I think that just moves a bit too quick. And you learn a lot by doing things wrong. So I'm going to back right up. I'm looking back at my history here where I added noise. So if I click here, that reverts my job back to where I was. Now, when I was showing you about using multiply, excuse me, I reduced the opacity of the layer. Now I forgot to put it back. I see a mistake. Still a bit too much noise, so I'll go back once more. Okay, now just pretend the last couple of minutes never happened, except that we learned something from it. And I'm going to add noise again. Now, I'll see it work properly this time. I thought it was a little bit weird how it was working when I did it before. But when you're recording yourself, you don't think right. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to go noise, add noise. And this time, we'll get something looking a bit more like final result. So now when I preview it, I actually see the preview better. It's not identical to the preview in this little window because this one doesn't take into account the adjustment layer that's on top. So I'm going to do a bit less now, because that was way too much before. So clicking the preview off and on, I see a little bit of noise. This is not going to be final. I will still do adjustments to the layer as well. Okay. So I've got, the numbers never all that big. I do prefer Gaussian. It has a nice sort of randomness about it. Okay. And what this is going to do is it's going to make it a little bit easier to tweak that colour. For some reason, it's easier to tweak colours when there's a little bit of noise in it. It gives it a bit of randomness. And yeah, just can get a bit better. A bit bluey, a bit yellowy, just rocking in around the middle. It's probably not the same colour from one side to the other, so I kind of can't exactly make it the same. So the bit that's standing out to me at the moment is this line down here is way too good, way too sharp. So I'm going to try and blur it. And there's a couple of ways to do that, so I might have to try more than one version. Now we have the smudge tool and blur tool. These kind of work a little bit. I'm not totally convinced that they're best tools. So let's just have a look and see. I'll just turn off that highlighter for a moment. Now I've got the layer selected, the shirt layer, and I'm just going to run the blur tool down the edge. What this will do is take away some of that noise by blurring it out, and it will make the whole thing look a little bit fakey. So I'm not totally convinced that that's going to be the way to go. Now I kind of like this little bit here, even though it's quite soft. This is where I'm being artistic. I'm not trying to make an exact looking collar. It's more a representation of a collar. So I'll tweak it. Well, here comes my assistant again. I'm working, buddy. You're going to have to just go and have a nap or something. He thinks this is very fascinating. Just hold on a minute. I'll just deal with this distraction. Say hello to people. Say hello, Mum. Look here. Yeah, he's a pretty boy. Now, you just go and get on with your stuff while I do my stuff. Okay, sorry. I know, very unprofessional, right? But I don't get paid for this, so it's okay. So what I might do is I'll change this. I'll change this shirt because I'm not totally happy with it, to be honest. What I want to do is I'll get my clone tool, which is shortcut is S for stamp. Sorry, I just had to give him the look. And then if I hit Alt and just extend this a bit up into here, I like that better. Now this angle here, I'd like to continue this bit of collar down. I don't know which layer it belongs to. Okay, it's belonging to the background copy layer. So what I'll do, I've got to follow the line, so I'll click on the line I want to follow and move down parallel with it. You can see the little preview there shows where it's going. And the whole thing starts to look a bit more natural. Far from finished yet, but you get the idea. So now I can see a little glitch. See this little repeat of those two freckles, moles, whatever they are? That's a giveaway for Photoshop, so I'm going to get rid of that with my cloning tool, the S shortcut, and then Alt to set the sample source, and we just click, click, and they're gone. Oops, I'll put one back again. Now this little, don't forget I've got the shirt overlay turned off here at the moment, so I'm just working without it. So I want to continue this pattern here, so I'll enlarge my cloning brush and reset the source to there, and following down in the line there, and the shadow. Now you want to be careful not to overdo cloning. If you overdo cloning, if you keep over cloning the same spot, especially if it's aligned, it'll just end up looking more and more fake, and you get little fake, like little lines. You can see a tiny bit here. I don't know if it's clear enough for you to see it. There's a couple little flaws in there which I'm going to just paint out and get rid of the cloning marks. And I'll go up here and just tidy this area a little bit. So starting to get a little bit artistic now and just creating something that never existed, just to fake in this collar. And this, it's blending with the flat red tone I've got underneath, which is a good thing because that's kind of generic. Now I'm just letting it go. Now up here, what I want to do is continue this line, this dark line. So I'll just preview it into there and get a little bit artistic and blend it out. In a way, I think when you've got a photo this badly damaged, it's fine to just make stuff up. It's a kind of paint, the difference. If you're fixing this with an airbrush, that's exactly what you would do. You would just get the color that matches and you would paint over the damage, and you would just try and just physically repair things. I'm just getting distracted from the shirt a little bit. You can see this image I'm working with is not ideal. There's a lot of JPEG artifacts in it. Just the way it is, I've got to work with what I've got. So I'm going to shrink the brush, harden it, and then just soften it a couple of clicks. And just get it to a size that fits the thing that I'm repairing. So now I click the source of a similar tone, and we'll just reuse that reference a little bit. So here I'm looking at the edge between the lip color and skin color, and just move the cursor down and just try and that didn't work too well. I'll back it up and do it a little bit softer. So go shift and left bracket, make a softer brush, and zoom in a bit so I can see a bit better. Very delicate little adjustment, because these, just a couple of pixels here will make all the difference of making this look real or not. So I'm going to try and just intuitively put that. Beautiful, got him. So this little thing on his lip, that looks weird. So I'm going to be artistic here. I'm going to pick something on the same alignment and just move across and just pick up that little alignment. Same here. Just get rid of the little glitchy bits that just give it away. There. So that makes a big difference. Just those few little pixels make such a huge difference. There's a discoloration along the bottom of his lip here, which looks a bit weird to me. I might try and just very softly just get a bit of that. What I'll do, I'll show you a before and after if I can. It's not history brush. So that's the before. Just watch that dot on his lip, and after. So it's just a few pixels there is really important. Now what I'm going to do here is that this sort of thing here, this is like a little defect of some sort. Well, not his defect, the photo defect. So what I want is a big soft cloning brush. So it's that big. Now to find out how hard it is, I can look up here, but that doesn't really tell me much. It just says 20 and sort of an icon. But if I hold shift and go right bracket, right bracket, right bracket until it stops changing, then I know it's hard. And then I go 1, 2, 3, 4 clicks to the left bracket, and I've got a soft brush. The preview kind of shows what it's going to do. So I'll get up in here in the area that's got a similar tone to what I want, big enough to clone in. My brush is a little too big. I'll just make it a bit smaller. Now what I'm going for is just a gentle correction here. Now in rare circumstances, I reduce the opacity of the brush. So what I'm doing is cloning only like a lower value. You can see the little preview floating around there. That gives you some idea of what I'm going to paint in. So I'll click up here and I'll just try it. And I'm liking that. I'm just getting a little bit of colour. I'm just squinting and looking at the screen a little bit just so I can see what I'm getting. So I'm liking that. I love the fact with Photoshop you can zoom in, like being able to be a miniature surgeon and just go into a blood vessel and fix it from the inside. That's what it feels like. So before, and just watch his lip, and after. See, he just gets rid of that little thing, and just a few pixels make such a difference. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my opacity back up to 100%, because otherwise I'll forget it. And it'll be another one of those lessons of here's what happens when you don't do things right. Okay, so I'm happy with the way it's going so far. So turn the shirt back on. I'm not totally convinced about this shirt replacement, but it's getting there. I think I need to align this thing, because that's really throwing me that it's off to the side. So what I'm going to do, back to good old Puppet Warp. You see how much I love this tool? And that's now showing over the whole area because we've added noise and stuff like that. Photoshop thinks there's image over that whole layer, which there isn't, but anyway, Photoshop can think what it likes. So what I'm going to do is I want to pin a lot of this stuff over here. So I really want to just move just that little bit of collar detail. There's various ways I could do it, but I think this way is going to work. Okay, pinning so they don't move. Pin the corners because it tends to pull in from the corners. You'll probably see it wobble around up in the top area here, but that doesn't bother me. Okay, and then I'll drag. Oh, it's not coming along. What's going on? It doesn't like that. Oh, I'm an idiot. I'm working on the wrong way. Okay, let's back it up. Let's back it up. We go back to before Puppet Warp. Now, okay, remember how I said that I was going to show you everything even when I stuff up? Well, that's it. I've got background selected here. So I should believe it when something doesn't look right. I thought it was the noise introducing image all over the image, but it's not. I should have trusted my first thought, but I just had the wrong layer. Okay, so pretend that last minute never happened. No. And let's go back to Puppet Warp. Oh, that's how it should have looked. Damn idiot. Okay. But you know, you learn a lot by watching idiots at work. And I will prove that as I go. But also, I'll get a result in the end, so you know, everything won't be lost. And now, oh look, it's working. Funny that. So I'm going to be a little bit artistic here, and I'm going to make the shirt out of nothing. Okay, let's see how that looks. And you know, Puppet Warp is great because you can still keep moving it, and it won't break up the image. I mean, eventually, of course, it will do something bad, but you know, we're getting there. We're making a thing. I think he's got a bit of collar that should be coming down here. So I wonder, yeah, that's an interesting problem. I'm thinking I could use this join to actually create something that resembles the collar going down there. Yeah, that's the more I think about that, the more I like it. Okay, let's do a bit more Puppet Warp. Where are we? There. Got the right layer this time, didn't I? Okay, pin it. Pin. Just moved a little millimeter there, but that won't bother me. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit severe. It's like going to the dentist, isn't it? He says we're going to have to do something a little bit difficult here. Okay, so we're going to pull down. We're going to pull down. I love this filter, this tool, it's so much fun. Okay, what do I want? It's a bit of an experiment at the moment, so I'll just do it and then we'll see if it works or not. If it doesn't work, I'll just go back again, do something different. Okay, looks like it sort of might fit somewhere. No, I don't like it. But you know what? I think I'm going to have to find another bit of reference shirt that I can put in there and fix that bit there. So let's move off that for now. It's just not working for me, but what I'll do now, I'll do it offline because it's going to take too long by the time I find another image. I'm happy with this sort of effect here because that's going to look real by the time I finish with it. What I want is I'm going to find another shirt, and I'm going to find a shirt that's got this tab bit here and that's got a collar, so I can pick up a realistic looking collar and bit of shirt. Then I'll do the same tricks and I'll colorize it and I'll puppet warp it and I'll blend it until it fits. So come back and visit later on after I've posted this and had time to go and find the repair piece, and I'll go in and I'll do it properly. Okay, so this is getting a bit long, so what I'm going to do is jump to the hair repair. Now this is a nice piece I found earlier, and I did do a little bit of prep on it. And what I'm going to do is get my transform tool and just drag it over onto our subject. Okay, now I can get rid of that. Okay, so here it is. No, I don't want it as an adjustment layer. And now put it in front. So that's in front, and I'll just re-establish this adjustment layer link, because that disappeared because I accidentally had, because I had shirts selected, the paste layer went in between those two and broke them. Okay, now you can already see I've got magic hair for the guy. Now, not knowing this person personally, it's only a guess as to where the hair might sit. Now, somebody that knows this lad will tell me, oh, his head looks funny, his head's not that shape or whatever. So I might check with the person who supplied the image and see what they think about it. But basically what I did was I looked on the net and I found a picture of a boy with similar looking hair and similar angle of the head and so on, that I could kind of blend and try and make something looking realistic. And this is what I came up with. I think it looks pretty good. Now, when I go offline here, I've got some work to do still, because we've got a bit of a mess on his ear here, which I'd like to fix up. And I want to finish this shirt. But overall, I think this is a big improvement from where we started. So just show the original. So still being true to the original, I've just patched bits and pieces artistically to turn it into a new pic, keeping the boy as he was. So I might end this here, because I could keep going on this for another hour, and I don't think we all want to sit through that, and me stuffing up and Murphy wandering around on the table. He's given up and gone now. But I think there's a lot of food for thought there, and if you're interested in Photoshop techniques, there's a couple of really good ones in there that are worth spending a bit of time playing with, and that is we did creating stuff out of nothing and pasting in bits of other pictures and trying to blend them. We messed with the puppet warp, which is a fantastic tool. We played with the blur tool a little bit. We did some saturation and hue adjustments in a non-destructive way, and we've blended together some layers. So all in all, there's a lot there to digest, and if you look at this in conjunction with some of my other tutorials, it'll give you a few good ideas to work more quickly. If I wasn't talking and explaining this, I would just be racing through it and do it in half the time. And it's a lot of fun, very satisfying to do. And I hope you all enjoy wandering through the back streets of Photoshop with me. And please subscribe and share. If you've got any pictures you would like to have repaired, feel free to send them to me, and I'll have a look at them. I'll also deal with other printing issues If you've got trouble with gradients or colors or whatever in commercial print, give me a yell. If you've got a logo you want fixed up, give me a yell. And Murphy and I will be happy to jump in and have a look at it. And I'd appreciate it if you subscribe and comment and publicize my channel, and hopefully I can build it and I can do more free stuff to help people who are worried they're going to lose their photos and so on. Anyway, I'm waffling now, so I'll sign off, and thanks for watching, and please share.